Okay. Welcome back to the Saga Studio podcast, everybody. Woo! So, how's your weekend?
Good. Start of a weekend.
Today's Saturday. It is the start of the weekend. Yeah, it's start of the week.
Start of the week. Last day.
Last day of the week.
Well, depende din. How do you start your week? Usually Sundays are the last day of the week for some people.
Yes. Correct. Awesome. Okay.
Start the intro.
Start the intro. Woo! All right. Hi, Justin.
Hey.
Hey.
So,
Hey guys, welcome back to Saga Studio podcast series. I am Raphael Goño, your host, and I'm here with my co-host,
Justin Kua.
Woo! So if you guys don't know yet what we're doing here, this is a Saga project. So if you guys don't know what Saga is, we have Justin here who will explain what Saga is.
So, Saga stands for the Social Academic Guild of Architects.
Sure.
Social Academic Guild for Architects. So Saga stands for the Social Academic Guild for Architecture, and it's official recognized architectural organization from the Salle College of St. Louis. So it's like collegiate organization, if you want to be more specific.
And if you guys don't know what we're doing right here, this is the Saga Studio project. So Saga Studio is a look into Benildean architecture, which takes account of different perspectives of people in the architectural study and field. And we hope to create insightful and meaningful discussions that talk about the architectural field and to inspire people to pursue in the architectural practice while highlighting Benildean architecture.
Yeah.
And in this episode today, we'll be talking about Benildean Projects. So what is this episode about, Justin?
Well, we're gonna have obviously a guest with us. This can't be complete without a guest. So we're gonna introduce a guest, which is from Benil, which is from Archie.
Cool, I can't wait to guess this guest.
Okay.
Anyways, so let's introduce our guest for today's podcast episode, Janelle Gan. Miss Janelle Gan.
Welcome, Gan.
Hi, thanks.
Hi, Janelle. Hi, Janelle. So, this is Janelle Gan. She's a Archie student right now, ID118. Studying BS Architecture. I already said that, but Janelle, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so like what Ralph said, I am Janelle and I am currently a fourth year architecture student in Benil. I'm a Saga member and former creatives director. But yeah.
Yeah. Whoa, isn't she talented already?
No?
It's medyo
Saga Studio creator, so you know she's Saga creative's head. You know she's really talented by that title, so she's really creative, and which makes a perfect candidate for our episode for today because we'll be talking to her about her different design beliefs and influences and her projects she's done before.
Yeah.
Especially now you're taking up your OJT, right?
Yeah, I'm currently working for OJT right now in this school year, the next coming term. So
Yeah.
yeah, busy.
Really busy.
Thank you
busy.
for finding a time to being here.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
So, I want to know a little bit more about our guest here. So, Janelle, in 3 words, how can you describe yourself?
3 words?
3 words.
Yeah, damn, so much pressure. 3 words. I guess I'm a visionary. Do I have to explain each?
It's up to you.
I'd say I'm idealist. One more.
One more.
One more.
Open-minded. Is that one?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Visionary, idealist, open-minded. Parang magkasabay yung tatlo nila.
It actually reminds me of our last episode when they talked about what you should, the parang criteria or values you should have as a architect student. And Oh, lo and behold, she actually she stated it. Did you watch the last episode?
A bit of it, yeah.
Ooh. So, what are your other hobbies beside architecture?
Hobbies. Actually, I grew up like very inclined towards art and design already.
Ooh.
Like from when I was a kid, like I would always be taken to like art class after art class. Yeah, so I guess that influenced my hobbies now. Like I love painting and you know sketching, doing graphic design during my when I'm stressed or you know. And then when I was in high school, I joined a lot of orgs and clubs, and then somehow they were all design related also. So
Wow.
yeah, so I sort of got some experience in like um, everything design related. Like in I had this org that was production design, so I got experience in like set designing, costume design, and then
Cool. So you kind of dived in into
yeah, like
different
a little
types.
bit of like different design fields.
Kind of clothes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. So that also influenced like my love for fashion, ganun. And then there's also product design. So like a little bit of everything. So yeah, that sort of influenced why I chose architecture.
Were you did you choose these orgs and clubs because of your passion of arts, or was it like
I was always a little bit interested, yeah, in like design in general. Like it always intrigued me. So I wanted to try it out. It looked very exciting. So yeah, and then I guess my passion for it grew along the way. So yeah, everything like interdisciplinary design, just tapped into it. I enjoy it. So yeah.
Okay, so now gravitate. Everything about arts gravitates around you.
Oh gosh.
art student?
Lahat na.
But like if you were tapped into a lot of this art art related stuff,
Yeah.
why architecture? Because like you said you did
Yeah,
project
yeah.
design and
Yeah. Actually,
fashion.
when I applied to Benilde, I was already like so amazed by like all the course choices because they
True.
have everything.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we have
Like,
everything.
yeah, so when I saw the courses, I was like, oh, I'd love to go to production design. And then it'd be like, oh my gosh, now I want to go to fashion. So when I applied, I ended up with interior design at first.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And then like, little birds, someone told me like, why don't you just move to architecture? Because, you know, architecture gives you a lot of opportunities for all the other design
Tama,
fields.
tama.
Yeah, and now that we're in architecture, I really see that. Like, good thing I chose that because there's really a lot of opportunities. It really teaches you a lot about different fields also. So yeah, I mainly chose architecture because there's a lot of opportunities for
That's
different
true.
things out there. Yeah, in
Very
terms
true.
of design.
Yeah. Parang like it's versatile. Kasi let's say, lahat ng mga clients mo iba-iba. Tapos you have a good idea of what they want. Kasi you know, grasp nyo lahat. I don't know how to explain, pero like let's say, if he's a baker, you kind of have an idea what bakers need. If he's a fireman, parang may idea ka na rin. It's also including that, parang you have a good idea of everything then, besides art related. You know?
Yeah, it's good to learn about different things out
Yeah,
there,
oo.
like at least a little bit.
Tama,
So it
tama.
helps you with your, you know, career and everything.
So speaking of the, you know, like the versatility of architecture for all the other courses, like it's a combination of them. So how is it so far as being an archi student?
Now,
Yeah.
actually, it's pretty okay. Like, that now that I'm fourth year, it's like something you get accustomed to. Of course, there's a lot of like, work and hard work
Yeah.
that's involved. But then if I compare it to like how I was as a first year student to now, like I can say that there's really so much that you could learn from like all the profs and like all the friends that you meet along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like you
For
really
su-
learn
for
from
sure.
everyone around you. So it's good so far.
How would you say the change of environment was? Because you were delved into a lot of creative parang activities
Yeah,
back
yeah.
in high school,
May
right?
shift ba or something?
Like going to college and experiencing this new parang college life and new.
Mm.
Oh, syempre, there's like cases where a lot of people come into our school and be like, oh, I already know so much, but when they go into our school, they were like,
Yeah.
whoa, I don't know anything.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I did think going into it that I would know at least a little bit, but then, yeah, I think we all get humbled. um, yeah, I think along the way, like when I had like design studios, you think you know a lot about like softwares, like
yeah.
how to make
Mm.
stuff, but then there's always like someone who's better at this, someone who's better at that, and then it really makes you like open your mind to help and like having everyone help each other, like
Mm.
you know, it's a really good camaraderie around the school.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
So for Arky na lang, yung course, di ba I taught
Yeah.
you so many things. Did it also give you like a passion for something? Like you want to go towards this sector? Pero we did speak na, we did say that's very broad. Pero are you leaning on to something? Like what will
Mm.
inspire you towards the future? Is it like...
Well, now I
Mm.
think for a lot of us it's like it's still hard to say like where we wanna
That's true.
specialize
Yeah,
in.
Mm.
Yeah, but then obviously it's good to like explore.
Tama.
Yeah. But then in terms of what I've been able to like solidify in like my beliefs and like values as like an future architect, I really enjoy like doing something for the community. Like I love when I design, like I love talking about cultures and the people that are involved. I also love like environmental, like you know, doing something for the environment. So I
Right.
think that also says a lot in like how I design. So I usually keep those up when for each project.
Right.
Mm.
So yeah, right now I guess it's more like open. I'm open to like a lot of things as long as those things are involved. It
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
everything
yeah.
more, you know, inviting to me
That's
to
true.
work on.
Oo nga.
Yeah.
I also gravitate to that
Yeah.
idea or parang belief na make spaces friendly for people and then nature as well. Kasi
Yeah.
they go hand in hand kasi people feel the place inviting if you make the green spaces good.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It also goes into urban designing. Like, if you notice, like our cities right now, and like especially in the Philippine setting,
Oo, tama.
Yeah, for
if you
sure.
if you really input the architectural design of like the green spaces
Yeah.
and like the humanity into it, the
Yeah.
humane architecture, parang we would have a whole different kind of environment.
Yeah,
a
like seeing
different
how
culture.
the Philippines is now.
Yeah.
And then what you learn and how like green spaces are good and like all these things are good. You really want to do something.
Yeah.
for,
It's
you know.
very like motivating. As
Ta-
you learn as a designer
Tama.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
architecture, you be like, there's so much like possibilities into the future
Yeah,
of
it really
our
makes you
country.
think of like the future.
Tama.
Yeah.
But as like your journey as a designer in architecture, through your first year up to right now, where you're in your OGT, how would you say your history or development as a designer went?
My development as a designer from like first year.
Yeah, like
Mm,
did you already know what type of designer you wanted to be?
oh gosh, no,
No.
no. I went into it actually like without having a plan. I just found it out along the way. Like, at first, I would just, you know, just sit in class, just listen to like the lectures, and I didn't know any softwares. I didn't know anything really. Like, I I remember just collaging everything because I didn't know how to render. I don't know. All I knew was like, sketching because I had a background on it. But in terms of like theories, anything architecture related, no, I didn't know anything technical about it. And then in my second year, that's when I started looking into it, like seriously. And then I just like, sometimes I like, because before we had face to face, and then I would go with my friends to like different studios to just explore, like, oh, what are they doing over there?
You can do that.
Yeah, I think
I never
Benilde
experienced
is
that.
just very inviting. That you could just listen to what other profs are doing, or like there are a lot of events that just
That's true.
open your mind to like different topics that they don't explore in the classroom.
Yeah.
So
Saga events.
Saga events.
yeah, Saga events. Saga events super helpful in terms of talks and that. But yeah, that's when I started looking more into what architecture really is. And after that, like, I was able to sort of grasp like, oh, what direction do I want to go to? Or at least, the little details that, oh, what do I want to do really? So after that, I would like join in on different classes that I would be really interested in. And that's when like I really delved into what I'm doing now and like all my projects. I think they're more inclined towards what I actually want to do because I was able to explore early on. Yeah.
I'm curious, like, you think profs drive you to be more interested in the class, like their passion?
Yes,
You
for
think so?
sure. Yeah, I think when the profs are, because you could see there are profs, right? That you see them, they look like they really want the best for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then that comes across as like giving you criticism, even if it's like hard or like intense. And yeah, I think that's being part of an yeah. Same. When I was a like starting architecture student, it was so hard to take criticisms. Yeah, especially since like you don't know much, but then you always want to do good. So criticism's like hard, but then along the way you find out that like, oh, there are profs that really want the best for you. So yeah.
So like we already got the idea now. Your professors were able to influence how you became a designer. But what about your peers? Like, how did your peers and fellow classmates, help you become a better designer?
Yeah, actually, I'm very lucky with like the friends that I was able to gather along the way because in the studios that I've been in, the camaraderie is like super like, oh, you don't know, like it's so good. And sometimes there are studios where everyone's just focused on their work, right? But then I've been able to join in on studios that everyone's just helping each other. For example, I didn't know how to render. Like I didn't know how to render. There's someone out there who's very like good at rendering, or you don't know how to make diagrams or whatever. Someone out there is really good at it. So it's best to just go out of your way, even if you don't know much, to like ask around, because most likely they'll be willing to help, because everyone just wants the best for each other. Everyone just wants to get a good result, at the end of the day. So yeah, I think studio culture is very important in terms of like designing. Yeah.
I guess it's like kind of more difficult because you were a face-to-face student, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you were able to bond with your peers a little bit more easier compared to like people online now, where a lot of them become like lone wolves in designing. Yeah.
Parang we, unintentionally make it like a competition.
Oh yeah, it does feel like that
Really?
sometimes.
Yeah.
I think, sort of when you're like alone working, it's sort of like like how do I reach out or like
Yeah.
Ooh.
We haven't built our foundation with the rest of our
Mhm,
batch.
mhm.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but then I mean there's Saga, right? Like I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of um especially like the higher ups, like you
Actually, totoo yun.
yeah, you could just reach out to them, it's super easy.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of like not being afraid to like because obviously I've experienced that also, especially now it's like online. Sometimes you're just isolated, like working on your
Oh, yeah.
own, like should I even ask?
Mm.
Yeah, but then yeah, I think it's just maybe profs and like people who are willing to help around you. It's just a matter of asking. Yeah.
That's true. You have to really put your one foot forward, your introvert side, push it back muna.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
stop.
Coming from an introvert.
Speak a bit lang, speak a bit lang. Yeah, I agree.
I find it super hard because like even face to face, I was a little bit suplado.
Wait,
yeah, yeah. And then when it came to online setting, it was a little bit more harder because like
Yeah.
I did, especially because I'm a regular,
Uh,
so I couldn't find like a common ground with other students,
Mhm.
especially the ones I'm taking studio with.
Mhm.
Because for me, I'm 118, you're 118, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm taking studio with 120, so it's like two batches below me,
Yeah.
and I kind of have a hard time parang finding the middle ground to
Mhm.
parang hang out with them. Especially sometimes I don't even know the lingo they use. I feel kind of old already to the point I don't know what like they use shortcuts that I don't know what they mean, and I have to ask, and I feel, am I old? So you've been a designer and a architect student for a while now, I would say, because you're fourth year now. So among those 4 years, were there any highlight projects that you found most
Spectacular.
spectacular? Something that you were like, oh man, this was really hard, but it was super rewarding once it was like done. Do you have a project in mind?
Yeah, actually, it was my Arctus 4
Darkness.
project.
Oh, okay.
So Arctus 4 is still like the creative design studio. Like you get a lot of freedom and everything, and because I was talking about how like I sort of had a direction in mind, like what I was interested
Oh.
in. So in this particular studio, it was more design exploration, which means like um you delve into design that's not strictly the architecture styles that we were taught in like history or like theory,
Tama.
which is like minimalism, brutalism, all that. The studio really makes you like look into what new architecture you're able to create based on like research, research based. The project brief for that project was uh kind of different from like your usual project briefs, but since it was a design exploration, we got to pick like any plant that we wanted, for example, and then how do you use that plant to create a new type of architecture, and like how could you change uh, the architecture to respond to those plants' needs, or
Okay.
how does that dictate everything in your design. So but then I sort of had some like previous idea in mind that time, because I had a site already, and then that site, it wasn't just some random site that I wanted, because I look back in like my childhood pa and everything, and how for example I would like go to the market as a child with my parents. So it was like super grounded in my experiences before. And since we had a lot of freedom, why not? So I was looking at that site since it was very cultural. Like I said before, like I was super interested in like looking into culture and everything. So yeah, it was a market for like textile. They sell a lot of fabrics and stuff. Um, and since I did know a lot about that site already, I was like, oh, what if I could do something good with it, or maybe I could do something sustainable, since that was one of like my personal like advocacies also. So I had like that idea in mind, and then um since I had a site, I was like, okay, how do I pick a plant now? like, um, and so looking more into like fabrics, um, it was since I am interested in like Philippine culture and stuff. I wanted to look at indigenous culture, like how they're able to create fabrics from plants, since I was very interested in fashion and keeping things environmental. So I was like, oh, maybe that would be a good direction. So what plants can I use? It's a very step by step process. Like
Yeah.
one thing led to another. I guess it's more spontaneous but connected in a way. It wasn't just randomly picking. Oh, I'll just pick this plant, or everything had an intention, and I think that's what made me excited, because along the way things just connected. So I had this site, and I could do something better with textile production, fabric production, and then there are Philippine cultures that show that you can do that with plants and everything. So how can I make an architecture that um and that project was more of like a hybrid, like community center for that location, for that community, but also uh how do you redefine production of fabric in a way that's sustainable, not like your typical factories and stuff. So it was something new, um, but it was a very vague concept at first. It was just like an idea, like a
Yeah.
general idea. So how do you actualize that? Um, so yeah, the process was very research based. So um, the thing that's good about this like the methodology behind it was it we had to search about the plant in depth. Like I had to use like abaca, which is like a Philippine banana plant, and I had to look super into that. Like how do you plant it, the width, the height
Wow,
it grows.
Manapa.
So if you design a space for it, the space has to be very specific and only works for that plant. So, but then also architecture is not just for the plants. Like you have to create
Yeah.
a program that also helps the community.
Tama.
That
Yeah.
helps the people. So, yeah, that involved looking into different cultures now of our indigenous people in the Philippines, and how they were able to weave, like their traditions for weaving, for planting the abaca, since it already exists. And how do you bring that into the city, or bring it into something more urban to make it
Interesting.
more
Interesting.
alive in Philippine tradition. So yeah, like that space was heavily inspired by the rituals of like indigenous people, how they were able to like create celebrations, or like dance celebrations, music while they're um, weaving, and then just make the space more inviting and less like an industrial
Tama.
factory
Yeah.
in a sense. So yeah, it's stuff like that that just evolves over time. I think that's where looking at different things out there. Like you just architecture is just not about, oh, I'm gonna look at this style and then incorporate it, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's really at looking at different cultures, different things that exist, and how can that motivate you to make something new. So yeah, that was when I was also able to, you know, it sunk in that, oh, like I love designing for people and looking at cultures and doing things that are sustainable. So yeah, I think that project really just grounded everything for me at an early stage.
This was Art Desk 4, right?
Artist 4.
So you were
yeah.
like third year student or second?
Artist 4, second year, third year. Start of third year, I think.
Yeah, hindi ko rin alam. Time is on the-
But how long was the project? Because like you stated, it you had to look for a site and then
Yeah.
was the site given to you or
No, we actually that time we got a lot of freedom. Like we could just pick whatever we wanted.
any site?
Yeah, any site, any plant.
Doesn't have to be local.
No, I think it had to be local. But
So there was a lot of research into it. It's because you
yeah, for sure.
you had to find a certain site first and then look into the cultural background of the site and then you had to look into the plant and how the
Yeah.
plant worked.
Yeah, a lot of research involved.
So how
A
long
lot
did?
of iterations.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine it'd be like, I have this one idea and then next you have another idea and another idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was like kind of, it must have been kind of hard to like decide, okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Oh gosh, yeah. That studio also is what made me more open to criticism. Because actually that was the first time I was able to really have good criticism on my work, like honest criticism. Like funny nga, because that was I like obviously you have a lot of ideas coming.
Yeah.
And you have to condense it properly, right?
Mm.
To fit like the concept that you're going for. But then that was online setting. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah, online setting. So it was hard to find inspiration from outdoors, right? Because usually me personally I like finding inspiration when I'm outside. Usually it just comes to me like when I'm doing random activities outside. But then since we're at
True.
home, like it's hard. You just get to find stuff in the internet or like in books or whatever. But because of that, like it was somehow harder to condense my ideas to something that's like seamless, you know. So when I would consult with my professor about it, sometimes they'd be like, oh, that's kind of chop suey. Like, oh, too much ideas, it's going too far. And then
I get that comments a lot too.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Nakakalito.
so that was the first time that I was like, oh, like you know, like you have a lot of
Sayang
like
naman.
a lot of thought
Oh,
went into
yeah.
it, and then you just realize, oh, that makes sense. Like it's not
True.
working. It's not working. So yeah, yeah, I think it helps a lot, the criticism, because in the end, like you know which direction you're going for, and it keeps you in track with everything. So yeah.
Hindi ka ba nahihirapan sa site? Like, since it's online, syempre, I don't think the prof was allowed to visit.
Yeah.
So did
I
you
think-
rely on Google Sheets?
Yeah, actually. No, but then the thing about that was I already picked the site that I knew personally because based
true.
on experience. Yeah, but then yeah, it's hard to find sites now because you can't really go like site visiting,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So I think it's also good to like find places where you're more accustomed to, at least now for like online setting, because it makes things more, you know, convenient and you already know the space well.
So what was like one of your most biggest struggles when you were making this project? Was it the ideation phase or is like the actual implementation of your ideas?
Mm. Ideation phase was luckily was okay for me because I already had something in the back of my head, but um the whole process was new to me, like the whole research based design. um Everything was data driven. That was kind of like a culture shock. So like I've never experienced anything like that before, so that was also like something that I had to get used to. And since I was just arctas for, like, I've never rendered before, I've never like made intense diagrams
Sure ka ba?
before.
Really?
We seen your work. Sure ka ba? First time mo.
That was your first time rendering?
Yeah. I got a lot of help from my studio mates. That's what I was talking about. Like, there are so many good
Okay.
people out
That's,
there.
that's nice.
Yeah. And then
But I'm,
like
like,
before
I'm so
that,
shocked because like I saw those renders and I was like, she must have been doing this for a long time, and she's like, oh, it's my first time.
Yeah, the project before I was just collaging. But I love collaging. It's just I really haven't used like rendering softwares. So I had to take time to ask around how to use it as well. So yeah, a lot of new softwares that period also. Yeah, so that was one of the struggles. Other than the pandemic, obviously.
So your biggest struggle was the rendering, and like, was it the what do you call that when you actually make the model? Modeling. Was it the modeling, or is this the rendering part, or is it both?
Modeling, like making the structure itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously, I think the modeling was also a tedious process because I think that was also the first time. I think in general that was just the first time for like a lot of things for me. Like before I would just maybe make one or two iterations and I'd be good with it. But since this time I got a lot of feedback and a lot of new ideas, there were so many iterations. Just had to start from scratch a lot.
Oh,
So yeah, that was very tedious, but then very rewarding in the end naman.
That's
It's a
true.
lot of work. Yeah.
I would imagine. Also, when I was looking at your project, the form is like something definitely new.
Yeah.
Like, how, if was it driven by the need of the plants, or what was it that drove you to create such a form
Yeah.
Um,
or architectural style for it?
I think unconsciously, like I probably was influenced by a few of like my favorite architects, but then the form and like the circulation, the spaces, they were inspired, they were influenced by the plant itself, like how does the plant grow, and then how can the users experience the space one after the other in the step-by-step process that the plant grows, or like how does the weaving process uh continue, or like for example, like go from sewing to like making the garment. The spaces were dictated in a way that the users would experience them one after the other. So it was really intentional, and that's how it resulted that way. So it wasn't just plugged in; it was really thought out, like how would they circulate and everything. Yeah.
Interesting.
Can you talk us through like the process of like sewing and how is that related sa structure mo? Like even I guess yung plant na rin, if you can count
Okay.
it in.
Well, cause I had to consider two processes: the plant from harvesting to like propagation, and then the weaving process, like how do they extract the fibers
That
from the
sounds so
plant,
hard.
tapos like how does that become a garment in the end. So like so many processes involved, and that's why it ended up like a factory. But then what I did was I what helped was I was looking at traditions nga of the indigenous people, and how um unique it was, because it wasn't just, oh, I'm gonna make a garment. It's, okay, I'm gonna um, fiber extract, and then when they make the garment, it's sort of like a celebratory feeling. They have music and dance and everything. So
Cool.
how could I also incorporate that type of uh, how you say it, like a celebratory feel in the
Yeah,
in
the
the
culture.
yeah,
into
so
the
that it's not just like a stagnant
That's
and like start
factory.
to end process.
Yeah.
It's more of like, how can you immerse the users in the space, and how do you make that culture in that site more inviting for the community. So yeah, I had to involve like how could I make the weaving process into um something that was like like a orchestrated type. Like, what if these weaving machines would sort of be like a symbol of like something that's grand and orchestrated, like a musical instruments. So if you see the photos, there are like drapings
oh
everywhere
yeah.
of like the woven fabrics, and how can everything feel more like grand in general, like cathedral, like something that's like something that makes you go in awe. um and then even the fabric would like go travel from one space to another. Yeah, so it's a lot of like radical ideas, I
But
think.
Charlie
yeah,
the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
that was
something like
I was
that.
like when you started explaining like how cathedral, and I was like, now I'm looking back at your project. I'm like, oh nga, no. If I was literally in the building, you design, and I'll look up and I'll be like,
Yeah,
whoa.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that also involved like having to look at the cathedrals and how like atmospheric the space
Tama,
is.
yeah.
It really changes the feel and everything. So yeah, you just look in different ideas, different things out there. It really helps, even if it's like not connected in a way. Everything really inspires you to. Yeah.
Makes sense now. Kasi I was like wondering, why is it so dull?
Ako din.
Mm.
Then yung it clicked to me like, kasi it wants to make it more inviting, less of a factory yung feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you said Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
It's not a typical factory.
yeah. Well, not a typical factory. It's like it's a different world.
Janelle and the Textile Factory.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the title of it pala?
Oh, Hibla and Harana.
Bakit?
Why?
Hibla fibers, because
Okay.
textile fibers, abaca fibers. Harana, because serenade, it's like inviting to like a musical celebratory type of feel. So yeah, that's the meaning behind it.
What I found really amazing was that you didn't only make it like a place for textiles and new plant. You were able to incorporate so much, like you were able to give the needs of the plants, and then the needs of the people who are gonna make the textiles, and you also gave needs for the community and parang humane architecture. So like you were able to parang program your building to cater so much. How did you parang program it in a way na it doesn't get messy?
Well, I think that's just matter of grounding it into what program you want. So on my end, it was just how could I make a better space for the textile retailers in the site that I had, or like how could they better sell their garments, or how could you make weavers feel more at home in their own space, like
Tama,
not
Or it's not like they're going to work. Right?
yeah,
It feels
yeah,
different.
yeah,
Oh.
something more recreational, less industrial. So it's a matter of just thinking of what's best for the community, and then just providing it in a condensed way, not too much of everything. Yeah.
So it's like step by step. Pero one question comes to another. So it's like ganun lang naman siya.
Yeah.
So when it came to doing your projects, were there any diagrams or illustrations that helped you do your project? So like when we design, we use bubble
Project,
diagrams,
Space matrix.
space matrix, like that. What were essential tools that you use that really helped you with the process of making your project?
I think like you guys, I started also with bubble diagramming spaces and then space matrix along the way, but then to start like massing diagrams. So just like general forms of
Oh.
to find which circulation would be best.
Mm.
So like general shapes. I think that time we were also required to physically model. So if we got the chance to like model like the massing, it would be like great help in terms of like finding where the sunlight would hit and everything.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Since you can see it like firsthand.
Yeah.
But then other than that, like a lot of diagrams of like the forms and then the general space diagramming. Yeah. It's the same lang naman.
I feel like nahihirapan ako doon.
Yeah, ako din. Minsan I have a hard time with doing the diagrams because sometimes my ideas aren't like super.
You can translate it.
Yeah, you
It's kinda
can't.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of practice also. I wasn't that used to diagramming as well. It's especially since like for example diagrams, it's you have to put less words, more visuals.
Yeah.
That's easy to
Yeah.
understand, right? It takes a lot of practice, but I think there are a lot of sources online also that you can learn from. So a lot of practice and a lot of patience also. You have to be open to iterating, like improving on it if it doesn't work out. Yeah.
Mm. So moving on, like that idea, is there any advice you would give to other students who's studying architecture right now? What would be your like tip or advice for people taking up design classes?
Advice.
As a fourth year to younger children, younger children,
Children.
younger students.
I think same as what I said before, like at like as early as possible, try to make yourself open-minded sa criticisms because you'll experience that along the way. Time management, especially for yun nga, like design involves a lot of iterating and coming up with new ideas and fixing those ideas. So it's a tedious process. So you have to fit everything in a time frame, especially since we only have like a term to complete one, right? A lot of hard work, but then also don't stress yourself out. Because that time I was also very hard on myself. Like, I have to get this done. Or like I have to make the best that I could since, you know, I like the idea and everything. So you have to live up to your expectations. But it's a learning process and a learning curve. So you have to be patient with yourself. And then we're all just learning. So it's fine in the end. Like, you did what you could, and that's what matters. So yeah.
That's beyond yourself na like, nandyan na eh. So,
Yeah,
what can
yeah.
you do? So,
Yeah, that's true. Was there any materials you would advise or like soft or hard skills you would tell people to look into or to touch up on to prepare them
Like
for design softwares or like readings, literature, books.
In terms of softwares, I think the typical like you have to. Well, I learned this along the way naman din in like architecture school, but um, AutoCAD, since I think it's the most well versed in the industry
Right.
today. But then also the times are changing now, so there are a lot of new softwares that are coming up, and then
Yeah.
so right now I'm using Rhino and Lumion, different. There's a lot of good rendering softwares out there, so you can try that. Um, it's a matter of teaching yourself how to
Yeah.
learn. Yeah, you have to be invested in it, so that you could learn. Because the school teaches you the basics, but then if you want to learn more, um, there are a lot of people out there also who know about different software, so you could ask around. For other skills, I guess maybe sketching or schematic drawings, just for quick ideas. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
So guys, this is Janelle Gan who gave us a lot of her insights and her experiences in studying architecture. So definitely she's a very notable architect student.
Indeed.
Indeed. You can check her portfolio down below or up in the caption, up or down below. You can check out her Instagram and her portfolio to see all her great works. And is there anything else you'd like to add?
I guess, well, it's interesting perspective from, especially from 118.
Yeah, 118.
And the outputs were amazing. And then yung pala, she's just like all of the rest of
Oh
us.
yeah. When I saw her portfolio at first, I was like, whoa, she's really good. And then I was like, oh man. Then I started to see like it's a learning curve
Yeah.
to get to the point where she is. I mean, like I'm still in lower art desk. I'm still in the lower studio, so like I still have to go through the different studios to try and reach to the same skill level, and which I'm very excited to look forward to, and yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure. Thank you so much, Janelle Gan,
Thank
for
you.
Thanks,
joining
guys.
us again. This is Janelle Gan again. To show our appreciation, we bestow you a token. A token for coming to our podcast today. Where is it? Maybe she should check
Under her seat, her chair.
Can you check out under your seat for your token?
Wow.
What's
Ooh,
this?
it's a power bank. Thank you so much for joining us for our second episode of Saga Studio.
guys.
And thank you so much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
insightful
Thank you so
experience
much.
and
Happy to share.
yeah, thank you so much.
Salamat.
Yes.
Thanks.
Well, that's all for today's Saga Studio episode. I hope you guys learned a lot from this talk with Janelle Gan, and that it may help you in your
Definitely.
pursuit of the architectural field and like influence you in your future studios. Thank you so much for watching, and see you all in the next episode.
Episode 3.
Episode 3!
Don't forget to subscribe, follow our accounts. Yeah.
Yeah! See you all
Bye-bye.
real soon!